The morning passed slowly as I watched cartoon after cartoon on the TV. I almost welcomed it when she told me it was time for my nap. She tucked me into my bed and kissed me on the forehead before she drew the curtains and closed the door. Within minutes I was fast asleep. 2 hours later I awoke to find Gina beside me. Gina had come in the room, pulled the covers down from my head and sat down beside me. She smiled as I opened my eyes and asked me how I was feeling. I moaned and said I didn't feel like getting up. Gina put her hand on my forehead and told me I didn't have a fever. She patted me on the head and said, "Come on, sleepyhead. Aunt Gina's made a wonderful lunch for you. Aren't you hungry?" She smiled and said, "Honeybunch, I think I should get you into some dry pants. Come on, get up, honey, and Aunt Gina will help you to the bathroom." I blushed and reluctantly let her lead me into the bathroom and undress me. When she pulled off my pants, her smile became a broad grin as she saw their condition. She helped me up on the toilet and left me to do my business. When she passed by the doorway, I saw her carrying a plastic bag into the guest room. She returned shortly with a box of baby wipes in her hand. She stood me up and wiped my behind before leading me back into the bedroom. The coldness of the wipes surprised me. I guess I had expected them to be room temperature, but the evaporation of the alcohol made them much colder than the surrounding air. I told her that in the future, I'd rather she use toilet paper to wipe me, but she only smiled and said she'd see what she could do about the cold. Gina boosted me up onto the bed and laid me on my back. I started to ask her what she was doing, but she silenced me by putting a finger on my lips. She started tickling me and I began laughing uncontrollably. Suddenly, she lifted my legs in the air and put a pad underneath my bottom. She had no right to do this to me. She was a married woman. She pulled my legs apart and I licked my lips in anticipation. She tickled me again, and in the mirth I never even noticed that she had pulled the pad up between my legs and was taping one side together. She was diapering me. I screamed in anger as she fastened the other side and sat me up on the bed. I demanded to know why she had diapered me, and she took the wet training pants down from the top of the dresser where she had laid them. She told me to look inside and I complied angrily. I was shocked when I saw the back of the pants. I had shat in my pants while I was sleeping. I was mortified. The shame and humiliation were too much for me. I started crying. She picked me up, sat me on her lap and began cuddling me. I leaned against her and wept like a baby. When I quieted, she carried me to the kitchen and settled me in a chair. I never even looked at the room around me until she sat me down. I just kept my head buried in her bosom and hid my face in shame. When I finally opened my eyes, I saw that I was actually higher than the kitchen table. My chair had a tray in front that went around me and the arms and back were heavily padded with plastic. She had put me in a high chair. She stepped around behind me and put something in front of my neck. I looked down and saw she was tying a bib around my neck. I kicked my legs in frustration as she sat down in front of me and began spooning food into my mouth. I tried to tell her I was perfectly capable of feeding myself, but could not talk with all the food in my mouth. She was treating me like a 12-month-old baby. She finished spooning the jar's contents into my mouth and wiped my face with the bib. Then she got up and made herself a bowl of soup and a sandwich. I looked at her meal enviously and wished she was in the high chair instead of me. My tears had made my nose run and I coughed. She looked at me in surprise as if she had forgotten something important.